What do you think?
I don't know, I talk like
Uh-oh, he talks kind of low, y'all. All right, let's all right, check.
hello.
All right. Said hello. All right, well, then I'll join you. See if mine will work. Let's see. Check. There we go. Let's get it. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your work with us. So tell us, 22-year-old filmmaker finishing studies. Where are you going to school?
Where am I going to school?
Where'd you finish?
Columbia.
Columbia?
Downtown.
Columbia College, Chicago, baby. All right, Taylor, all right. They're in the house, y'all. Okay, great. You know what? We're not going to play this game. We're not going to do this. All right, awesome. So, let's start with filmmaking. When did you get inspired to start creating films?
I always say when I first saw, I've been watching films my whole life, obviously, but when my mom took me to go and see Moonlight when I was 16, around that, I think that was the film that cemented, me needing to do this and me needing to see myself on the screen and portray people that aren't portrayed usually in different situations. I was in Riverside, Brookfield, where I went to high school in the western suburbs, so we had a TV program there where I used a lot of the resources to make a lot of shorter form things. That I'm not too excited to show off or anything.
So right, we gotta practice to get there, right? Okay, we gotta give ourselves some grace.
But yeah, it also comes hand in hand with music, and a lot of the things I would make had a lot to do with the music I was listening to, and just editing things over and stuff that I liked at the time. So up until now, I've just been working and watching a lot of films from everywhere, and just trying to find a language that speaks to people and myself.
Do you have some favorite filmmakers?
Of course, I love Tarkovsky, Andrei Tarkovsky, Ingmar Bergman, all those cats, Barry Jenkins, obviously. Lynn Ramsey, she's a big inspiration as well, in the way she edits, and there's a lot of it. It's almost too much trying to get into right now.
Love it. So tell me, where did you shoot this? It looked like there were at least 2, maybe 3 different kind of images. So where did you shoot?
We'll give them up a bit of the magic.
Okay,
I shot the scene with Ernest reading the letter at the top part of my house, the main floor, and I shot the prison scene in the basement, in the closet. Yeah.
Love it, right?
And just the stuff with the younger girl, Gracie Malia, was in and around. It was on the south side. That's all.
I thought you would say south side. I like that you gave us more. He didn't want to give us all of it, but I appreciate you giving us more. So let's just get into it, right? So one of the first questions I have for you is, talk about adding little Gracie to the story. Like, what was the significance of little Gracie with this?
I think little Gracie, she was the bond, the person, the human, the young woman who brought these 2 men together in a more vulnerable way, as opposed to just being a plot device or just being like, it's sad that she's dead. It's sad that, we have to look at these images and not see her with them together, but her presence is felt throughout the film. So I thought it was, even in the book, the short story, her presence or her absence, her sudden absence is what compels Ernest to write the letter in the first place, and to even make contact with Sonny. So I thought she was an inescapable part of the adaptation process.
Okay, I love that. And it was interesting how, Ernest said, I'm writing a letter basically to hurt my brother. Let's talk about the effects of incarceration on the family. What did you kind of want to have us feel there with his initial feelings?
I wanted to feel not only the helplessness, but also the rage that comes with it. Because in the book, he seems to want to place a lot of the blame on his brother, on Sonny himself, for having gotten himself into jail. He even asks, I think in one of the first things he says to an old friend of both of them, he says, why does Sonny want to kill himself? Why does he want to, let me down, let us down all the time, when it's not that simple?
So he made it kind of about him, not more really, let's find out what's going on with Sonny, but This is how it's
Exactly.
making me feel.
Exactly.
Got it. So you said something, you used the word vulnerability. And I think what really grabbed me was that I don't see a lot of the opportunity for our men to be vulnerable, right? And I think that I got that from this documentary. Was that something that you really wanted to show, just that males being able to be vulnerable?
Yeah, I just wanted to show them being able to hug each other, being able to talk, sit down and talk. I always think in my films that's a very important thing for characters to do. Or in any film I see, when you just see two people, regardless of if they're male or woman, whatever, they're just sitting down and talking and having a conversation and trying to get to the truth of their situation. So when you see them embracing that final frame, or one of the final frames, I just think it brings home, I don't know, connection, physical connection, as well as an emotional one too.
Yeah, but I mean, you touch on a lot of vulnerability aspects. I mean, the two males hugging, the allowing the tears, allowing the conversations to be very real, very, deep. Like it could have just been, this is simply, yeah, I'm mad or I'm sad, but it was really, here's what I'm going through, here's how Gracie affected me, here's how I let the family down. So I think I really appreciate you allowing that to happen into the film. I really love it. I just wanted, I gotta keep looking up to see if we have questions.
I do have a question. There was a moment where there was a zoom in into the character and he turned towards the camera and you saw him crying. And it's like just that moment. Can you share the choice to zoom in on that moment?
Well, as opposed to the simple answer, was just we needed a cutting point. I really like, just in films in general, when I mention Bergman, I mention Tarkovsky, I mention anyone, a lot of what they do is these really beautiful close-ups, Barry Jenkins, Jonathan Demme, where the characters are talking directly to you, and then taken out of their immediate situation to address the third party, which I thought was also really an interesting aspect to include in that, because you see them operate and combine both of them in a separate way. But that moment brings us into it. And Sonny, he was looking at the camera almost the whole time while he was giving his address. So I thought, having them make eye contact would be important as well.
You mentioned, kind of telling us a little bit about you, and you mentioned music, so then you added a song when we get towards the end of Sonny singing. Like, tell us what that was for you, why you wanted to incorporate not just a song, because you could have played music in the background, but what was it to have Sonny singing the song too?
Well, it happened during the writing process. I was writing and I had music playing all the time. So that was one of the songs that came on in the shuffle. And that's an Oscar Brown Jr. composition, and Troy himself is a grandson of Oscar Brown Jr. So I thought it would be a very special moment. And not only does the song resonate completely with the story, which is why, it made so much sense to me, but being able to have his grandson, his lineage, actually perform it as a piece of something instead of a film. It was very beautiful to me, so I'm glad it was able to make sense a little bit.
That was kind of divine, right? That just happened with we have a question here.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank you for showing Black men in that environment. I'm here with my nephew.
Hi, nephew.
He's the film guy. And during our intermission, me and him had a really deep conversation. I didn't stretch my legs, we just kind of talked. For you to be a 22-year-old young Black man to show that type of connection between two Black men, they were the holding hands while you were singing to them, that's going to resonate with me moving forward. I just want to thank you for that and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're on the right path.
Thank you.
I love the fact that that we are able to be able to talk to nephew and have nephew see these different films and for your film to just be an inspiration just immediately. Like that has to feel good, right? Just to be able to connect with your audience.
Yeah, that's the goal, just to connect in any capacity. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So okay, so I want to know, One for My Baby. Tell us whatever you can about One for My Baby.
Well, it's becoming less and less of a secret, but I'm doing. Well, we wrapped shooting it a while ago. I've been kind of in the post-production process, wrapping it up now, working with the composer, and that is a film about my parents and how they met and how they came together and eventually split apart, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look on it. It's just trying to figure out the context I come from. And, yeah.
I love that. Okay, so now again, we gotta follow you. We need to know how to follow you because I need to see One for My Baby. Now he told us about mom and pops. I need to know the story too. There's a story there for sure. I need to know the story. So how can we follow you?
Well, my ad on everything is Shiloh Tumo, so SHILOH TUMO. And the film actually has an Instagram page, despite my best efforts, but it's called One for My Baby Film altogether on Instagram. So
We kind of can't escape social media.
Yeah.
It's kind of here. So, a young up-and-coming filmmaker, what do you tell them? What advice do you give them?
I wish someone could, because I feel like I'm young up and coming.
You are, but you mentioned,
Yeah.
early on you talked high school.
Yeah.
So there are some younger than you who had that passion, had that pull that young. So what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say just get two people together, have them talk out what you feel is the truth, and see where it goes with the camera as well.
I love it. I love it. Well, we thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to feel the vulnerability and be vulnerable. And we will definitely be watching because, again, we want to see One for My Baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Shiloh Washington.